all the way across the river. And in every apartment building, lights began to blink on. Then TVs and computers, as the people of New York heard the first reports about a terrible disaster that was impossible to believe and that would have been unthinkable until a few years ago. His work for the night done, Jeffrey Schaefer finally rose from his park bench and went to get some sleep. If he could sleep. He understood this much. Things were just getting started. He was on his way to London. London Bridge, he thought. All the bridges of the world falling, crashing down. Modern society coming apart at the seams. The sodding wolf may be a madman, but he is a brilliant bugger at being bad. A bloody brilliant madman.
Part 3. Wolf Tracks. Chapter 57.
The wolf slowed his powerful Black Lotus to just over 100 miles an hour while he talked on his mobile phone, one of 6 he had with him in the car. He was headed toward Montauk, on the tip of Long Island, but he had important business to attend to on the way, even at 1 in the morning. He had the American president, the German chancellor, and the British prime minister on the line. Top to top. What could beat that? This call can't be traced, so don't waste your time trying. My tech people are better than your people, he informed them. Now, what's on everybody's mind? We're 8 hours past the deadline, and...
We need more time.
The English Prime Minister spoke up for the group. Good for him. Was he the real leader of the 3? That would be a surprise. The wolf had thought of him more as a follower.
You have no idea,
the American president started to say, but he was cut off by the wolf, smiling to himself, relishing the show of disrespect toward the powerful world leader.
Stop! I don't want to hear any more lies,
he yelled into the phone.
You have to listen to what we have to say,
the German chancellor interjected.
Give us the opportunity.
The wolf ended the conversation then and there. He lit up a victory cigar, took a couple of satisfied puffs, then set the smoke down in the ashtray. He reconnected the call using a second cell phone. They were still there, waiting for him to call back. He didn't actually underestimate any of these powerful men, not really, but what choice did they have but to wait on his call? Do you want me to attack all 4 cities? Is that what I have to do to prove how serious I am? I'll do it in a flash. I'll do it now. Give the order right now. But don't tell me you need more time. You don't. The countries holding the prisoners are your puppets, for Christ's sake. The real problem is that you can't be seen for what you really are. You can't be viewed around the world as weak and powerless, but you are. How did it happen? How did you allow it to happen? Who put people like you into these positions of great power? Who elected you? The money and the political prisoners. Goodbye. The Prime Minister spoke before the wolf could disconnect again.
You have it all wrong. It is you who have a choice to make, not us. We take your point about the strength of your position versus ours. It's a given. But we cannot put this package together quickly. It can't physically be done, and I think you know that. Of course, we don't want to make a deal with you, but we will. We have to. We just need more time to get it done. We will get it done. You have our promise on it.
The wolf shrugged. The English Prime Minister definitely surprised him. He was succinct. At least he had some balls. I'll think about it, said the wolf, then disconnected. He picked up his cigar and savored this idea. He was the most powerful person in the world right now, and unlike any of them, he was the right man for the job.
Chapter 58.
Chapter 58.
A business-class passenger who called himself Randolph Wohler deplaned the British Airways flight from New York at 6:05 in the morning. His passport and other pieces of ID backed up his identity. "It is good to be home again," thought Wohler, who was actually Geoffrey Schaefer, "and it's going to be even better if I get to blow London off the map." The 70-ish looking gentleman passed through customs without a problem. He was already thinking about his next move, a visit to his children. That was his piece. Curious and strange, but he was past questioning orders from the wolf. Besides, he wanted to see his progeny. Daddy had been away for far too long. He had a part to play, another mission, another piece of the puzzle. The Brat Pack lived with his deceased wife's sister in a small house near Hyde Park. He remembered the house as he pulled up in a rented Jaguar S-Type. He had a most unpleasant memory of his wife now, Lucy Riss Cousins, a brittle, small-minded woman. He'd murdered her in a Safeway in Chelsea right in front of the twins. That truly merciful act had orphaned his twin daughters, Tricia and Erica, who were 6 or 7 now, and Robert, who must be 15. Schaefer believed they were far better off without their whining, sniveling mother. He knocked on the front door of the house and found that it was unlocked, so he barged in unannounced. He discovered his wife's younger sister, Judy, playing with the twins on the living room floor, bent over a game of Monopoly, which he believed they were all capable of losing, not a winner in the group. "Daddy's home," he exclaimed, and beamed a smile that was perfectly horrible. He then pointed a Beretta at dear Aunt Judy's chest. "Don't make a sound, Judy, not a one. Don't give me the slightest excuse to pull this trigger. It would be so easy and such a great pleasure. And yes, I sincerely hate you too. You remind me of a fat version of your beloved sister. Hello, children. Say hello to your dear old dad. I've come a long ways to see you, all the way from America." His twin girls, his sweet daughters, started to cry, so Schaefer did the only thing he could think of to restore order. He pointed his gun straight at Judy's tear-stained face and walked closer to her. "Make them stop whining and screeching. Now! Show me you deserve to be their keeper." The aunt bent low and pressed the girls to her chest, and while they didn't actually stop crying, the sound was at least muffled and subdued. "Judy, now listen to me," Schaefer said as he moved behind her and pressed the barrel of the Beretta to the back of her head. "As much as I would like to, I'm not here to fuck and murder you. Actually, I have a message for you to be passed on to the Home Secretary. In a strange, ironic twist, your absurd, pitiful life actually matters for now. Can you believe it? I can't." Aunt Judy seemed confused, her natural state as far as Schaefer could tell. "How would I do that?" she blubbered. "Just call the sodding police. Now shut up and listen. You're to tell the police that I came to visit, and I told you that no one is safe anymore. Not the police, not their families. We can go to their houses just like I came to your house today." Just to make sure she got it, Schaefer repeated the message twice more. Then he turned his attention back to Tricia and Erica, who interested him about as much as the ridiculous porcelain dolls covering the mantel in the room. He hated those silly, frilly porcelain doodads that had once belonged to his wife and that she had doted on as if they were real. "How is Robert?" he asked the twins, and received no reaction. What is this? The girls had already mastered the hopelessly lost and confused look of their mother and their blubbering auntie. They said not a word. "Robert is your brother," Schaefer yelled, and the girls started to sob loudly again. "How is he? How is my son? Tell me something about your brother. Has he grown 2 heads? Anything?" "He's all right," Tricia finally simpered. "Yes, he's all right." Erica repeated, following her sister's lead.
He's all right, is he? Well, that's all right then,
Schaefer said with utter disdain for these two clones of their mother. He found that he was actually missing Robert, though. He rather enjoyed the mildly twisted lad at times. "All right, give your father a kiss," he finally demanded.
"I am your father, you pitiful twits," he added for good measure, in case you've forgotten.
The girls wouldn't kiss him, and he wasn't permitted to kill them, so Schaefer finally had to leave the dreadful house. On the way out, he swept the porcelain dolls off the mantel, sending them crashing to the floor. "In memory of your mother," he called back over his shoulder.
Chapter 59. The most common complaint from soldiers serving in Iraq is that they feel that everything around them is absurd and makes no sense. More and more, this is the way of modern-day warfare. I felt it now myself. We were past the deadline and living on borrowed time. That's how it seemed to me. Feeling as if I hadn't been able to catch my breath in days, I was on my way to London with 2 agents from our international terrorism section. Geoffrey Schaefer was in England. Even more insane, he wanted us to know he was there. Someone did. The flight to Heathrow Airport arrived at a little before 6 in the morning, and I went straight to a hotel just off Victoria Street and slept until 10. After that short rest, I made my way to New Scotland Yard, just around the corner on Broadway. It was great to be so near Buckingham Palace, Westminster Abbey, and the Houses of Parliament. Upon arrival, I was taken to the office of Detective Superintendent Martin Lodge of the Met. Lodge told me, modestly enough, that he kept the anti-terrorist branch, called SO13, running smoothly. On our way to the morning's briefing, he gave me a thumbnail sketch of himself. Like you, I came up through the police ranks. 11 years with the Met after a stint with SIS in Europe. Before that, I trained at Hendon, then a constable on the beat. Chose the detective track and was moved into SO13 because I have a few languages. He paused and I spoke at the first break. "I know about your AT squad. The best in Europe, I've heard. Years of practice with the IRA. Lodge gave me a thin smile, a veteran trooper's smile. "Sometimes the best way to learn is through mistakes. We've made plenty in Ireland. Anyway, here we are, Alex. They're all waiting inside. They want to meet you very much. Get ready for some incredible bullshit, though. MI5 and MI6 will both be here. They fight over everything. Don't let it get to you. We managed to sort it all out in the end. Most of the time, anyway." I nodded. Like the Bureau and the CIA back home. I'm sure I've seen it before. As it turned out, Detective Superintendent Lodge was right on about the turf wars, and I figured that the feud was probably hurting progress in London, even under the present crisis circumstances. Also in the room were a few special branch men and women. The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, plus the usual crowd from London's emergency services. As I took a seat, I groaned inside. Another goddamn meeting. Just what I didn't need. We're past the deadline. They're blowing up things, I wanted to yell. Chapter 60.
The large beach house outside Montauk on Long Island didn't belong to the Wolf. It was a rental, $40,000 a week, even in the off-season. A complete rip-off, the Wolf knew, but he didn't mind so much. Not today, anyway. It was quite an impressive place, though. Georgian style, 3 stories rising above the beach, immense swimming pool shielded from the wind by the house itself, pebble driveway lined with cars, mostly limousines, muscular drivers in dark suits congregating around them. Everything here, he thought with some bitterness, paid for with my money, my sweat, my ideas. They were waiting for him, several of his associates in the